People are talking about JK and Winter having a matching tattoo and potentially this being confirmation of a dating rumor. We have HYBE apparently losing millions of dollars potentially, and then many people believe that there is a cover-up happening and what's going on with that. So hey Dumplings, this is Dave Disci. Let's get into it. I woke up to probably one of the most craziest stories that I've ever seen, probably in Kpop. Apparently the government has essentially frozen over 100 million US dollars in assets that Bang PD has. The specific asset that they're talking about is stock and stock within the label. Now this is about the money that Bang would owe if he was proven to have illegally gotten that stock and that sort of stuff, right? Essentially, if he's proven guilty of all of this, the money that he allegedly was reported to have taken was around $130 million. So I'm wondering if the 100 million was just all that he had and they decided to just freeze all of it in case they do win. They would be able to redistribute the funds or take it back. Now this puts him in a weird situation where I think pretty much any amount of money that he has outside of his bank account is pretty much frozen and he would not be able to do much during this current time. Now of course the amount of money that he has is obviously still more than any of us could probably ever dream of, but it puts him in a weird position as he is someone who is a CEO, and if he has anything that he has to do in the label, he is currently stuck and cannot do those things because most things probably involve a lot of money. But what does this mean for the artists right now that are in the label? And what does this mean for anyone that is working with the label right now? The only funds that are being frozen right now is of course Bang's, and it's not really funds that he could use, it's stock, right? He would have to sell that to use it. This of course means that unless he is looking to personally diversify his portfolio and sell those stocks to do other business ventures, he usually would have to pocket that himself, and now he cannot do it since it's frozen. But the label should not be affected by this at all. The day-to-day bankroll, the payroll sort of stuff, that would not be affected at all because again, it's just his own assets being frozen as opposed to anything to do with the label itself. Being frozen essentially just means that he cannot sell those stocks to take the money out and run or whatever. So they're ensuring that the money stays there and he doesn't pull it towards something else or just use it all so that people cannot take it back if he loses this court case. So this should not affect any of the artists in the label at all. It should just affect their comeback. It shouldn't change any of that stuff. What might be a concern is new artists or some of the old artists potentially trying to do a comeback right now. If their name has the label attached to it right now, this is not a good look for them as it's going to make the group themselves look like they also participate in weird things. And I say this also to say that we have no idea or no confirmation of any of the things that are being reported and it actually happening. But it doesn't matter what actually happened or didn't happen in entertainment. It matters what people think. And people thinking that the label is in a bad position right now is going to make the artist not be perceived very well publicly either. On top of this, there is another rumor that has come out literally around the same time. People have been bringing up old moments of JK and Winter and mixing it in with new rumors that have come out with JK and Winter. This apparently started as a single Kpop account, posted this dating rumor. Obviously that's existed for quite some time, but decided to talk about it again. And apparently after it was posted for just a few hours, it garnered around 8 million views. So a lot of people were talking about this. This picked up steam within the Kpop space, and I'm going to get into more specific things in a little bit, but I want to talk about the new rumors that are being addressed now. JK on his upper arm, I believe the arm that doesn't have the sleeve, he was believed to have a temporary tattoo of 3 dogs. This tattoo coincided with the fact that people saw Winter allegedly having the same tattoo in April of this year, and then JK was spotted with it in June. This was found recently in the new Are You Sure episode in which people noticed that he had this alleged tattoo. A few things here to note is that April, when Winter got this, JK was still in the military, and JK only allegedly got it in June after he left. So the chances of them seeing each other and getting the same temporary tattoo around the same time obviously didn't happen. But we have to note things like he was obviously in the military around the time that she got it, so he did not get it around the same time she did. And then the fact that it's a temporary tattoo, meaning if they did get it together at the same time, we can at least presume that they were getting these things and it wasn't like a romantic fun thing they did, but they were just doing it at completely different times. Maybe just because it's a trendy, fun thing to do, and a lot of people might have done it. So I have no idea about that, right? And temporary tattoo is not even really what a lot of couples do, I think, although I could be very wrong. I don't know a lot of couples who do tattoos, but just temporary ones. Like, what's the point of doing that? Like, especially as adults, and no judgment if you've done that, I just haven't seen it, so I'd be very curious to know if people have done it. Now, in this day and age, especially when K-pop idols are looked at under such a microscope, do we honestly believe that the celebrities would get matching tattoos, knowing that their tattoos could be seen at any point and it can then be scrutinized or potentially like end their career. Like, I want people to think about this for an actual second. If you knew that, let's say, dyeing your hair a certain color was going to cause you to lose your job, I would say 100% of people probably wouldn't do that unless you're very irresponsible. The same thing goes for this. If they knew that getting a matching tattoo and then it would be discovered at one point, because that's what K-pop fans do, and they could potentially lose their career and get severe backlash, why do you think they would do it? They won't. And it's a weird type of judgment to make or assume that they would, because you're then assuming that the K-pop idol that you like is not very smart with their actions. And yes, everything a celebrity does has to be extremely calculated. Now, this is interesting because now a lot of people have made the assumption that these dating rumors are coming out around the same time, and the label is doing this. And it's a result of them trying to minimize the press coverage around Bang and his assets being frozen. So in the moment apparently this headline came out of Bang having his assets frozen, this tweet came out with 8 million views talking about Winter and JK, and it's all what anyone's talking about. So is it possible the label did something like this to divert attention? A lot of people had shared the fact that this happened, but their entire DMs were just filled with the dating rumor. And while it's totally possible, what is the actual reason for doing a cover-up like this? The reason why a label or any company might choose to have another headline to get into circulation is because it would help investors to not focus or realize what's happening. With all of this investigation stuff happening, it only makes Bang look more guilty, even though nothing has been decided yet. The act of the court freezing his assets does not mean that anyone is guilty. In fact, it just means that the label is taking a precaution to ensure that if Bang in any way possible is scared of being guilty, even if he's not, he would attempt to try to move his assets somewhere else. So it's not saying that he is guilty, but even people who aren't guilty will be scared that they are. So that's just my theory. It's not something that I know for sure is happening, but all of the court is doing is taking precaution. This would be the same thing that would happen to a potential rich person who might be accused of a crime that they did not do, and then later it gets proven that they did not do it, but before they go to trial, they're probably kept in jail and not allowed to go home until trial. The reason being is because the court and the judges deem them as a flight risk because they have money to literally get on a private jet and go. So they have to spend several nights in prison until trial. Now that looks guilty. That looks terribly guilty to the public. So, and it doesn't matter what the actual truth is, because if the label's not guilty and the CEO is not guilty, but all of this is happening, there's a huge chance that investors and the public might just pull out due to optics. So of course, there is this likelihood of the label wanting to release a story to cover things up. But let's be honest here, how can a label or how can anyone predict what can go viral, how big it's going to go viral, and if it's actually going to be a big enough story to cover up a big story like $100 million being frozen? The fact of the matter is the story likely was going to happen anyway, and it's happening around the same time that this news story was dropped, and it was not in any way more than a coincidence. Like, there's genuinely no way to know what story is going to blow up. A post gaining 8 million views in a matter of 3 hours seems more like actual virality than it seems like an industry push, because it's just simply not possible. The fact of the matter is these things coming from a fan account, and the fan account from time and time again have just been proven to be fan accounts. So it just seems like potentially fans trying to cover it up, if that, or just the fact that this story was just something that someone was going to post about anyway. There's just too many things to prove against the cover-up for me to sit here and believe that it was intentional. I don't think at this point the label or anyone even at the label is attempting to try to hide any of this stuff happening with Bang. I think there's a general fatigue, and I think for the most part, if you look at the people talking about that story, it's not getting as much attention as the dating rumor because people just don't care as much. This is one of those stories that are very much caters more towards people who care about K-pop finances than the actual music, which tends to be the minority, obviously. So I thought this would be all very interesting, and it was very cool that I could tie both of these stories together and still talk about all of these topics. So let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. Make sure you check out Patreon. I'll leave a link at the top of the description. Thank you so much for this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.